Albany was said we were very quiet.
Yeah. If someone could perhaps just call the audio up, so have the
You
video.
can even read this stuff.
So we have a laptop if we want to
But they
use it.
told us it's not set
Dan
up.
and B, can we just confirm that you guys can hear us in Syracuse? Okay, great, thank you. And Amy, Zamanek, and Hampton folks, did your volume get better?
It
did.
Can
hear you now.
Great. Okay, super. So I don't know, Will, do you want to sort of start and then Buffalo can chime in as we get there? We can.
No, this is
Come
from
back to
yesterday
SBA.
because,
Ruthann, I need to step out from 10 to 10:30. I just couldn't avoid the conflict.
Okay, no worries.
Thank you.
So
All right, well,
let's.
we'll get the Buffalo votes, hopefully as they can hear us.
My husband did too.
Okay, so to begin, again, Morris Peters representing the director of the budget and Chris Curtis.
What else can we do? Can we call in? Oh,
okay.
there we
this is
go.
what they told
Taxation
me.
and Finance, can you hear
Oh,
us
we
now?
got it.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
I guess this room was.
We're just starting a roll call.
Okay.
So Morris Peters representing the director of the budget, Chris Curtis representing the
Said,
Commissioner of
"I
Taxation
will
and
keep attendance
Finance,
for the
and
book
David
office.
Gonzalez,
Please let them arrange my access to me wherever."
participating via video conference from the Division of the Budget's Conference Center at the Capitol Building, room 131 in Albany. B. Gonzalez is participating via video conference from HCR's office in Syracuse.
I cannot hear you. You're really faded.
620 West Erie Boulevard. Is that better? A little bit louder?
A little better, thank you.
Okay, Suite 312. And Hope Young Watkins and Andrew Sanfilippo are participating via video conference from HCR's Buffalo office at Electric Tower, 535 Washington Street, Suite 105. In accordance with the Open Meetings Law, notice of our locations has been made public. The public has the right to attend and observe the proceedings at these locations. We will now do a roll call for each of the meetings and use those votes as items are considered unless a board member indicates an intent to vote differently or a need to recuse. To open the meetings of the New York State Housing Finance Agency, the Affordable Housing Corporation, and the Housing Trust Fund Corporation, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meetings. I'll now ask for individual votes from the members of the HFA Board, AHC Board, and HTFC Board, starting with Chairman Weiss. Aye. Commissioner Wisnauskas.
Aye.
Mr. Peters.
Aye.
Mr. Curtis.
Aye.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre. Aye. McIntyre, excuse me. Ms. McEwen.
Aye.
Ms. Miller.
Aye.
Ms. Young Watkins.
Aye.
To open the meeting of the HFA Finance and Program Committee, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meeting. So moved. Second.
Second.
To open the meetings of the HFA Audit Committee, the AHC Audit Committee, the HFA Governance Committee, and the AHC Governance Committee, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meetings. So moved.
Second.
For the individual votes of each committee member, we accept the previous votes, and these meetings are officially open. To open the meeting of the State of New York Mortgage Agency, I ask for motion second to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meeting. So moved. Second. I will now ask for individual votes from the members of the SONYMA Board, starting with Vice Chair Wisnauskas.
Aye.
Mr. Peters.
Aye.
Mr. Freeman. He's not joined us yet. Professor Ford. Ms. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. Capel. Aye. And Ms. Miller.
Aye.
To open the meeting of the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second. To open the meeting of the SONYMA Audit Committee, I ask for motion and second to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meeting. Motion second.
Second.
To open the meeting of the SONYMA Governance Committee, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Thank you. For the individual votes of each committee member, we'll accept the previous votes. Those SONYMA meetings are now open. And finally, to open the meetings of the State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency and the Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meetings.
Second.
Now ask for individual votes from each member of the MBBA Board and the TSFC Board, starting with Chairman Weiss. Mr. Peters.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Ms. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Sanfilippo.
Aye.
To open the meeting of the MBBA Audit Committee and the TSFC Audit Committee, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meetings.
Second.
to open the meetings of the MBBA Governance Committee and the TSFC Governance Committee. Ask for motions and seconds to call to order. Consider each agenda item in later agenda meetings.
So moved.
Thank you. For the individual votes of each committee member, we accept the previous votes and all the meetings are now officially open.
Terrific. Thank you. I will turn it over to Commissioner Visnauskas for the Commissioner CEO report.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Bill. That's like a marathon. Good morning and good to see all of you. As many of you may know, April is Fair Housing Month, so I'm going to talk for a minute about just to put in context some of the work we do and how it fits into Fair Housing Month. Fair Housing Month was created in honor of the passage of the Fair Housing Act in 1968, which sought to end discrimination in housing and ensure that everyone has equal access to safe and affordable homes. And while obviously there's been much progress on that front, there is still much to do. Not only do we sort of face here in New York people facing skyrocketing rents and not enough availability, displacement, but we also know that discrimination exists in various forms, whether it's for race, gender, disability, family status, or source of income, and that these barriers have big impacts, good morning, not only to individuals, but also on families and really on entire communities as we have seen historically. So I was going to talk about a couple things that we are doing at the agency on that front. So on the fair housing enforcement side, as you'll recall from the prior board meeting, we approved contracts last month that were grants for fair housing testing, and these were grants that doubled the amount of money that we previously had for this work. Nadia Salcedo, who presented and previously shared with the board, that several fair housing organizations have received funding termination letters for their fair housing work and education work, but we're happy to say that representatives of those organizations, not New York-based ones, but other national ones, secured a temporary restraining order on this executive action. And so even though it remains to be seen what happens with federal funding for fair housing beyond those sort of particular grants, we certainly express appreciation for all the work that is getting done to keep all that funding, to have the work get done and to keep the funding going to support it. Another sort of piece of good news on the fair housing enforcement side, we worked with our partners at the Division of Human Rights on a source of income early intervention unit. So this is to sort of weed out where landlords are discriminating for individuals or families based on their source of income. We are just set to hire a director of that unit. It's a really innovative collaboration between us and the Division of Human Rights to do sort of cross-agency interventions so that Section 8 voucher holders can secure housing. And our Section 8 team and our fair housing teams work together with the folks at DHR to hire this person who's now going to run a small staff over at DHR to do enforcement, which we're excited about. And then sort of two last things I would say. Last week we hosted what we call sort of a lunch and learn for the staff at the agency. We had a woman named Professor Deborah Archer, who's the president of the ACLU, come in. She's also a NYU law professor. She recently wrote a book, and so she came to talk to us about the work in her book, and she talked through, she's very focused on transportation. So she talked through example after example of how infrastructure policies have aided and sort of further cemented racial segregation sort of across the country. We had over 250 staff people join the call. It was great. They were very engaged. People shared their own examples where they grew up, whether it was in Syracuse or Cross Bronx, the Inner Loop. It was great. It was a really timely conversation. She was also an incredible speaker. She's a very incredible, well-accomplished person, and it was a great lunch and learn. Lastly, I would just to contextualize it again, remind folks. I think we talked about this in January that we are proposing in the State of the State this year, the governor, a proposal to address discriminatory appraisal practices that have contributed to racial and economic disparities in homeownership. So the governor is proposing to sort of reaffirm that discriminatory appraisals are unlawful, to have some enforcement in greater enforcement than it exists today, and also a collaborative process with the Department of Labor to diversify the pool of appraisers that exist in New York State. So it's introduced, it's on the governor's agenda, it's being discussed. I don't know if it'll make it through, but just to add sort of as a kind of last piece of all the work that we're doing in Fair Housing Month, certainly feels more crucial than ever. So with that, I'll turn back to you.
Okay, thank you, Ruth Ann. The next item is a consent item, the approval of the minutes for the prior meeting, which will be deemed approved in the absence of any corrections or objections. Next is for HTFC, a discussion item for the Land Bank Initiative Awards, and Crystal Loeffler will present this item. Crystal is president of the Office of Community Renewal. And Crystal, you've got this item and the next two.
Thank you. Good morning. The Office of Community Renewal offers an open round request for applications to allow land banks to request land bank initiative funding as new project needs arise. This month, we're seeking approval to award a total of just over $7.6 million among 4 land banks. Proposed awardees include the Albany County Land Bank, Chautauqua County Land Bank, Newburgh Community Land Bank, and the Tioga County Property Development Corporation. The land banks are using these funds to support a variety of activities, including pre-development work, acquisition, demolition, building stabilization, and construction, sometimes as standalone activities and sometimes to complete a project start to finish. It's been great to allow the land banks to embrace the flexibility of this funding source and meet their specific local needs. Thank you for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the members.
Thanks, Crystal.
And now before the HTFC board, a resolution is transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. The resolution adopted.
Thank you. The next item is the Downtown Revitalization Initiative Contract Amendment. Crystal?
Thank you. The HTFC board approved a slate of HCR assigned DRI projects in September of 2017 for the first round of the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, or DRI. A $2.6 million grant agreement was approved for the city of Oneonta to administer a small project rehab program for downtown properties. Recently, the Department of State, who leads the DRI efforts, notified OCR that a different project in Oneonta will not spend the full amount awarded. So we're requesting approval to reallocate $211,000 in unused funding to the city's existing DRI award to support additional costs in a housing project. Happy to take any questions.
That's great. Thanks, Crystal.
Thanks, Crystal. Will?
This is before the HTFC board. A resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. The resolution adopted.
Great, thank you. Next item, New York State Home Buyer Development Award. Crystal?
Thanks. We launched a request for applications last year to offer up to $10 million to support a home buyer development program using New York State Home Program funds. This allows non-for-profit developers to request funding to support rehab or development of up to 4 homes for sale to low and moderate income home buyers. This activity is intended to support small projects that may not be able to access the agency's larger funding resources. This month, we're requesting board approval to award $390,000 in New York State Home Funds and enter into an agreement with Capital District Habitat for Humanity to support the construction of 4 new affordable housing units for sale to households with incomes at or below 80% AMI. The memo has additional detail, but I'm happy to answer any questions from the members.
Okay, thanks, Will.
Now before the HTFC board, a resolution is transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Okay, thank you. Next item is another HTFC discussion item, increase to a housing trust fund and community investment fund award. Brett Hebner, Vice President of Multifamily Finance, will present. Brett?
Thank you. Good morning. This is a 9% project that's in construction. It's about 75% done, located in the city of Albany. It's a fairly complicated 62-unit multi-site project along Clinton Avenue, mix of infill new construction and historic rehab, and also involves about 15,000 square feet of community services, a facility, and adaptive reuse of a school. So it's a fairly complicated, ambitious project, written into quite a number of difficulties along the way and cost escalation and unforeseen structural issues, creating a sizable gap. The developer, Home Leasing, is actually contributing significantly to the gap through most of their developer fee, their builder's fee, and still is not able to complete the project without additional resources from HCR. We will be addressing a portion of the gap in the form of low-income housing tax credits, which does not, as you know, require board approval, but the other aspects of the increase we're seeking the board's approval for are a $2.5 million increase in housing trust fund and a $827,000 increase in the CIF previously awarded to the project.
Thanks, Brett.
I'll note that the chairman is recusing himself from this vote. Now before the HTFC board are resolutions transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Thank you. Next HTFC item, the award to the Nature Conservancy to administer the Blue Buffers Voluntary Food Risk Property Buyout Program. And Rachel Weeder will present this item. Rachel is the Chief of Staff, Homeownership and Community Development. And Rachel, you've got this one and the next three. Good morning.
Good morning. We are seeking authorization to award the Nature Conservancy $250 million that was allocated to HTFC through the Environmental Bond Act in 2022. The Nature Conservancy responded to a NOFA, Notice of Funding Availability, we put out to administer the program. We came to the board previously to get authorization to give them administrative funds that were given to us in last year's state budget. And this will be to be able to also give them the capital dollars through the Environmental Bond Act, which will pay for real estate closings to purchase properties, demolish them, and turn the land back to nature. These are properties that are at risk of flooding. Also, we are seeking approval for the programmatic environmental review for the program, which is a unlisted negative declaration. If there are specific questions on that, I would ask Heather Spitzberg to answer the details, but since they're both related to this program, I'm just going to present them together.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
What is the geography?
So the geography is statewide. We'll be working in all regional economic development councils in the state, but there will be two ways that communities can join in the program, and we would then open applications to homeowners in their community. The first is that we've done a data mapping exercise to identify areas that are at extreme risk of flooding that have a history of severe repetitive loss. We'll be inviting those communities to participate. And then the second way will be through a NOFA. We're going to allow communities to compete for funding and sort of show us their demonstrated need for a buyout program.
And this is to help the existing homes become more resilient, or to buy out the homes and create nature?
That's right, to sort of buy out back to nature.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Now before the HTFC, excuse me.
Yeah.
Now before the HTFC board, a resolution is transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
Thank you. Next item, rapid response pre-qualified panel of administrators. Rachel, you're up again.
Yes, excuse me. There was a revised memo and resolution sent on this item yesterday. It is to pre-qualify 40 local program administrators who responded to a NOFA, it was a request for applications that we released. This is to pre-qualify those 40 organizations to serve in response to a program we're calling Rapid Response, which is after an extreme weather event or a storm event. We're offering homeowners grants to make repairs to their homes and using networks of local program administrators. Since right now we don't know if or where a storm will occur, we're requesting authorization to pre-qualify these organizations so that we can call on them in the aftermath of a storm event, and requesting authorization to award them up to $40 million which we anticipate receiving in this year's fiscal budget. And the amount that we would give to certain organizations would depend on their service area and how much damage there was. So really based on need and availability of funding.
You just clarify, I assume it's a total of $40 million.
Correct.
It's not clear in the narrative.
Okay.
And it's prospective. It's in this year's budget.
And is there any definition of the kind of storms, of the kind of events that would be eligible?
So it's weather events, flooding events, tornadoes, wind events, any storm that causes damage to homes where property owners would be seeking assistance in making repairs, emergency repairs.
I appreciate the preemptive nature of it because oftentimes there's a delay after a storm. People are really struggling, so this gets the money out much quicker, and that's great.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Are you planning on leaning? I mean, you guys have done so much thinking on the Resilient Retrofit program of like making sure that these organizations are trained on the type of retrofits or repairs so that they're like not putting conventional roofs back on, they're putting on fortified roofs or things that are sort of more resilient after. Are you planning on doing any like preemptive training with folks on the type of measures that they could sort of support that are based on the learnings you guys have done in Resilient Retrofit?
Yeah, I think that is something that we can definitely do to help get more contractors aware of some of these improvements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and does this apply only to small homes or does it also apply to multifamily?
It's single family, 1 to 4
Single-family homes?
unit homes, that's right.
By single, I assume you don't mean single.
1 through 4
4,
unit,
yeah.
we would consider it,
Yeah, small.
Yeah, small, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Now before the HTFC board are resolutions transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion is second, please be recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried, the resolution's adopted.
Great, thank you. Next item, administration services agreements for Hurricane Ida Renters Safe Housing Incentive Program. And Rachel, you're up again.
Yes. So in September of 2021, Hurricane Ida hit New York, and we received, our Office of Resilient Homes and Communities received a CDBG DR grant from HUD to administer recovery programs. Here we are seeking authorization to award a nonprofit organization, Community Housing Innovation in Westchester County, CHI, to award them $10 million to administer a renter's assistance program. There was a community in Westchester where a lot of low-income renters were their properties were damaged, and they some of them are seeking assistance in moving outside of the floodplain. So these programs would offer them the ability to relocate to safer housing and to help pay for some of those moving costs. There's also an option if any renters are in a position for home ownership, we would allow this assistance to work as closing cost down payment assistance. Yes.
Given that the hurricane occurred 4 years ago and we still have people who are in need,
yeah, there are still renters who are interested in moving to safer housing. It has been a while. The nature of this funding is that it's a funding of last resort, unmet needs. So it's after the insurances, after FEMA. It does come years later. And it actually has only been a bit over a year since we got a signed grant agreement with HUD. So although it feels like a long time has passed, we do still think that there will be renters looking to move to safer housing.
it's people who are still in need after all this time.
Yeah.
Is there a time limit on the availability of this funding, or is it as long as needed?
We are seeking authorization to contract with CHI for 3 years with the possibility of an extension. Our grant with HUD is 6 years, I believe, so there would be about 5 more years on it, which sort of coincides with how long we're requesting authorization to contract with CHI for.
any concerns that the money will be frozen at HUD or rescinded?
Of course, that's a concern of ours. We haven't seen anything or heard anything from HUD that these older grants would be at risk of that. But I think most of our concern is for prospective funding from the federal government, but hopefully it wouldn't be to existing funding.
That will be our answer every time, every
Question.
we're okay right now, we do not, yeah, but it's a good, we should keep asking it and keep, and things change also, sort of like
Change every
week by
day.
week. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If there's a change in the status, I assume we're notified?
The status of the program or the grant?
If there's a change in the status of the money, would be notified
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
every instance.
Yeah.
And we're obviously in contact with like the AG's office if there are sort of challenges and stuff like that. Okay.
We are working in a very coordinated fashion with the governor's office. Everything goes through them, and they are coordinating with the AG and others on.
We don't do it directly.
No, we go through them because they're getting it on, right? They have it on multiple fronts, so they're.
Yes, it's not just
Point
HCR,
source.
there's lots of agencies.
Yeah. We are very important, but health is also an agency that had some serious funding cuts, so education, yeah.
Okay.
Now before the HTFC board, a resolution is transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Okay, thank you. And the next item, demolition services contract with Granite Environmental LLC. Rachel.
Yeah. This is my last item. We're seeking authorization to contract with Granite Environmental LLC. They responded to a procurement for demolition services of 6 properties. This is for the New York Rising buyout programs, CDBG-DR grant we received after Superstorm Sandy. Most of the demolitions for the buyout program were completed years ago. We were just recently able to acquire the last home in semi-attached row homes. And so we can now demolish these structures and return the land back to nature. And the properties are going to be held by a nonprofit organization on Staten Island. They were the winning bidder of the procurement, and the contract amount would be for $585,150. It would be a 1-year contract with the ability to extend for 1 year.
Okay, thank you.
Now before the HTFC board, a resolution is transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, next item, creation of a reserve replenishment program pilot. And this item will be presented by Jason Pearson, Senior Vice President of Strategic Preservation Initiatives. Morning, Jason.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
I am excited to be here this morning to request a funding of a new pilot program that we would like to launch in the asset management unit, specifically $5 million of HDFC corporate reserves in order to refund a reserve replacement program. Just to give a little bit of background on kind of how this came about, generally our portfolio performs very well, and when there are capital needs of a project, we really try to do a comprehensive refinancing. We don't like to come in and do just a little patch here and there. But having said that, there are critical needs that come up now and then, say a boiler replacement, a critical roof repair that requires us to act very quickly. And a lot of times the reason why funding is needed in these cases is that the reserves on the project, either their replacement or operating reserves, aren't adequate. In other words, if they had adequate reserves, there'd be adequate funding in place for them to take care of the repair themselves. And so in the past, we've come before you to request funding from a couple different programs we have. You might be familiar with the Prevented Trouble Asset Program or PTAP program or the Imperiled Projects Fund. The idea behind this program is to get ahead of that and to have projects that have inadequate reserves come to us and request a grant or 0% interest loan in order to replenish them up to adequate levels so that when a problem does arise, they're able to act on that very quickly as opposed to coming to us and us going through our typical processes. And also we've often found that putting on even small subordinate loans on projects that have a third-party lender can take a lot longer than you might ever imagine. So that's the idea behind this. Again, we're requesting $5 million. It's to fund at least 20 projects. It's an up to $250,000 limit for projects that focus on nonprofit sponsors within their regulatory or kind of in the middle of their regulatory term and that meet certain other financial criteria. With that, does anyone have any questions?
This is another proactive project program.
Yes.
Good.
It's great. Really great.
The only question I had is our suggestion is I know like it's proposed as either a grant or a loan as part of this. Just for purposes of obviously if they're in the middle of their financing cycle, it might be good to try to do it as a loan so it can be carried forward in basis as part of their next recapitalization.
I think that is probably why, and it's particularly in cases where there's a tax credit regulatory. But we do have in some cases, I mean, that you're raising a good point, where there are projects that could qualify that don't have a LIHTC regulatory agreement on them. But
or if they're going to come up for some recapitalization using LIHTC in the future, like having the roof repair and you amortize it down, but like having that as debt means that you can carry it forward as part of the basis going into the next recapitalization. Okay.
Great, thanks, Jason. Will?
Now before the HTFC board, our resolution is transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. Resolution adopted. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, next item, contracts with Salesforce, Cloud Maven, and Own Backup for record retention related licenses for the Homeowner Assistance Fund, and Amy Chan, Assistant Commissioner, will present. Good morning.
Good morning, board members. So this item is for the authorization of contracts to meet record retention requirements for the Homeowner Assistance Fund program, or the HAF program. Just as background, in 2021, New York State was awarded $539 million for the HAF program to support homeowners who are at risk of displacement due to economic impact from the pandemic. We're really happy to share that in the 4 years since we have launched the program, we have accomplishments that we are really proud of that we would like to just take a moment to highlight and share with you all. So we have helped nearly 17,000 homeowners with awards totaling $465 million to help homeowner pay down debts owed on their mortgages, their taxes, co-op condo fees, manufactured home loans, and other foreclosable debts. The average award thus was about $27,000. We assisted homeowners from all across the state and every region, from New York City and Long Island to the Capital Region to the Finger Lakes to Western New York, thanks to working with over 20 community-based organizations to outreach to homeowners on the program. We also helped 2,800 homeowners achieve affordable loan modifications so that they could afford to pay their mortgages moving forward through a unique partnership that we had with the New York State Attorney General's office to help them negotiate those modifications with their lenders. We also partnered with the Homeowner Protection Program, or better known as HOP, a network of legal services and housing counseling organizations, to help homeowners actually apply for the program so they can serve as proxies to help applicants apply in our portal, as well as provide housing counseling services to them. And in the first year alone, we committed or dispersed nearly the vast majority of the funds. And I'm happy to say that we are about to make our very final disbursement. So given where we are with the program, we're at the near very end, and we are almost at the end of our
subrecipient agreement with the Center for New York City Neighborhoods or Sustainable Neighborhoods. We now have to meet record retention requirements, both federal and state, to make sure we continue to have access to the data for the program. So as such, we're asking for approval for 3 contracts. So the first contract is with V3 Gate, and that's to purchase Salesforce licenses for a 7-year record retention period. Salesforce was our application portal and system of record. It contains all the applicant files for the program. Our HTFC issued a request for bids to 6 Salesforce resellers, and V3 Gate came in with the lowest bid at $110,000, $391.54 for the licenses for the 7-year period. So we recommend awarding them that contract. The second contract is with Cloud Maven, who designed software that we use in our system of record that were used for credit checks, file uploads, text messaging. So third-party data that is contained in the system of record, but we must purchase licenses with that vendor in order to continue to access that third-party data. So we recommend getting into contract with Cloud Maven for $101,000, $587.50 for that 7-year period. And then the final request is for a contract for us to enter into a contract with Own Backup. The HAF program used this vendor to back up all of our system of record data and can provide restoration services should Salesforce come down. Because they have already been doing this for the last 4 years of the program, they have historical data that we would like to maintain. So we also recommend getting into a single source contract with Own Backup. Because this vendor does not allow for multi-year billing, this would be for a 1-year contract for $6,000.60. All of the contracts we would pay for with funds from the HAF program. Except for the multi-year billing for Own Backup would come at a later time. But for both the Salesforce reseller and for Cloud Maven, we would pay for the entire 7 years using our HAF funds. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's very thorough.
sure. I had a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's twofold. One, in terms of the disbursement of funds to homeowners through this program, sounds great. Do we have any notion of breakdown in terms of minority individuals who are recipients in this entire process?
I don't have the exact percentage, but the majority of the individuals we assisted were socially disadvantaged individuals, which was a federally defined term, people who were either historically marginalized or vulnerable populations. So we have exceeded the requirement for assisting socially vulnerable individuals, and I think the majority, more than 50% of who we assisted were SDI individuals.
Were,
correct.
Were what?
Socially disadvantaged individuals.
I see. And I'm just not familiar with that particular term. I hadn't heard that one used before. But who winds up in that category, I guess?
It includes folks who are historically marginalized, so based on race and ethnicity. Also vulnerable populations. So if you're a person with disability, other identified vulnerabilities.
So it's a range of issues there. And the other just has to do with the contracts that you have there. Are any of these minority-owned firms?
The Salesforce reseller, I don't know if Lisa Pagnozzi is here, but the bid, Lisa maybe can speak. We put out the bid to 6 firms that were MWBE, SDVOB. So I don't know if V3 Gate is either the MWBE or SDVOB.
Which one?
It's in the material.
The V3 Gate for the Salesforce reseller.
I believe that they are, we have it in the memo. We did reach out to MWBs and SDVOBs, and I believe we only received 2 bids back, and I don't believe that this vendor is an MWBE or an SDVOB. We contracting with the lowest bidder.
Of course, I understand that, and I think you understand my question as well. And so perhaps that's something we can focus on going forward, because this is a big state. There's a lot of people, a lot of companies, and perhaps they don't know about it, or perhaps the organization here can be more creative, okay, and trying to get some more people involved who have not been involved in the past. I think that's the whole idea. Okay.
Noted. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now before the HTFC board are resolutions transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Okay, thank you. Next item, amendments to contracts with 22nd Century Technologies Incorporated and Landsoft Incorporated for professional temporary staffing services for the Homeowner Assistance Fund. And Amy, you're up again.
Yes, so thank you. This is also for the HAF program. So we had contracted with the 22nd Century Technologies and Landsoft Inc., two professional services, staffing services firms to support our work on the program, including handling cases that were complex loss mitigation cases. We are requesting increasing the not to exceeds on both contracts for 22nd Century Technologies to increase the NTE to $357,240, and for Landsoft to increase the NTE to $325,000, and to extend the contracts by 6 weeks only, so that the temporary staff can continue to assist us with closing out the program just in the final couple of months that we'll need them.
Yeah, this, excuse me, this program originated in 2016.
2021. We were awarded.
Here it's, the original RFP was 2016.
I think that's, so the firms came from a agency-wide procurement for temporary staffing services. So the two firms that we are working with are from that number of firms that were selected from that RFP that predated the HAP program.
Okay, but even so, and from 2021 now 2025, this is still temporary staffing?
Yes, we've been using one staff person from each of the firms to do work to support, the program. The program is not a permanent program. So as we're coming to an end, these are folks who are not going to be staying with us permanently. I understand your question about retaining them for the number of years, but they've done some vital work to continue to make sure that we got money out the door in a very short amount of time. And we largely relied on our nonprofit subrecipient to implement the program in partnership with us. But having the temp staff were really vital to, make sure that they gave us some extra capacity that we needed.
Interesting. I mean, noting the kind of positions that this is being used for, attorneys, accountants, etc., one would think that and I'm not saying that this is the fault of the agency, because I know it's generally a funding problem, would have enough staff to be flexible in how it assigns its staff, so that when a program ends, there's another program usually that could use.
Can you just remind the term of this extension that you're seeking?
So just 6 weeks. So the contracts end the first and second week of May. I don't recall the specific dates, but they end in the first and second week of May, and we are asking to extend for 6 weeks because our subrecipient.
That's it?
Yeah. So just for 6
close out
weeks,
the program.
our subrecipient contract ends in June, or for the first week of June. So we're timing it close to the end of the subrecipient agreement. So they're helping us close out the program.
It's just that we've had the experience of doing extensions, and somehow they go on for a long time.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think on these federal programs, it is hard to gauge when they are going to end, and we don't staff up and hire state staff for them because they do, if there is not another, sort of major disaster, we don't need that staff on staff, and our existing staff can handle sort of the smaller things that come in. But your point is well taken, although I think on the 6 weeks, it's a little bit of a lesser of an issue.
Is there an offer for the temps to be hired by the agency?
I do not know the answer to that question.
The program's going to end, so we don't need the staff anymore. They work for a temporary staffing agency.
Right, but in that agency itself, once this expires in 6 weeks, we still have vacancies within the agency. So if they qualify for those other areas, normally with a temp agency, if they're hired for a specific thing, when it expires, you offer them possibly a position in another area if it's available. Because I understand that if it's attorneys, we have 6 or 7 positions open for staff attorneys. So
we have so they're not attorneys or accountants or other, I think, other of the services that are available through the RFP. The two staff that we use are for handling like housing application cases. So they're doing case management. So I don't know if there's any particular openings in that respect, but I certainly, if there's other work, I think that we can plug them in on for other programs like we would. They were fantastic, and we loved working with them, and that's why we had them for so long. And I think if there was another opportunity, we would love to be able to keep them.
So these were job specific.
Yeah, we utilized a temp firm to bring on additional staff just for this thing that now is over, and we don't need that. We're just extending them for 6 more weeks, and then we don't need the services anymore.
Got it.
Just along those lines, I'm just not familiar with 22nd Century or Landsoft. Are either of these minority-owned firms?
I would.
In the memo, it says that they are uncertified MBEs, so they are MBE firms, but they don't go through the process with the state, just which I assume is what an uncertified MBE means in this memo. Yeah.
And those are in addition to the certified ones.
Perhaps they need to get certified.
They're different because they don't go through the process.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just saying that we're talking about there are 6 MWE firms. These are in addition to those.
Yes.
Is there some thought of encouraging them to get certified, or how does that, I don't know, just know how that works. So just curious, with respect to the 2 firms here. I'm sorry?
We can encourage them to contact ESD and file for certification, or if their certification has lapsed, to recertify.
Okay. All right, so I guess we'll get some further information on that going forward at some point, right?
As far as
Along.
hiring goes, there's usually
Whether they become.
Whether they choose to, they may be over the asset cap, right? They may not be able to get certified.
They may be over the.
Asset cap, right? There's an asset. I don't know. I'm just saying there may be a reason why they choose not to do it that they don't tell. It's not really in our purview to ask them per se why they make their business decisions of certifying.
Okay, thank you.
And I was going to say, and with respect to hiring some of the temps, there is a fee with these temp firms. It's usually 20-25% of the salary. So sometimes the fees go away after a certain amount of time, and sometimes they don't. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you.
Do the uncertified get the designation of uncertified also if they just have a staff member of color in there rather than actually being an MWV, MBE?
I think the definition is of a majority of the ownership is owned by an M, and that's where you get designated as an MWB or an M.
But that's been changed, though, right? Because as long as you have a staff member.
I don't know that ESD has changed there.
Yeah, not to my knowledge.
Can you get certified by ESD as an MBE if your staff is of color? Is that your question?
Right, for certain procurement contracts.
I thought it was just ownership.
It's the ownership structure.
Right.
They're getting that designation.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is before the HTFC board resolutions transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously reported. All in favor, please say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Okay, thank you. The next and last HTFC item, emergency housing voucher contract amendment. Daniel Byer, Vice President, Rental Assistance Programs, will present the item. Good morning, Daniel.
Hi. So you may remember that in 2021, HTFC received an allocation of federal Section 8 emergency housing vouchers. These vouchers are to help families who were homeless or at risk of homeless obtain housing. They were temporary and expire in 2030 and can't be reissued after 2023. We received an allocation of 1,566 of them. We're down to approximately 1,440. Initially, during the lease-up phase of this program, we chose to utilize one contractor, given the size of the allocation and the timeline, the ambitious timeline for leasing them up. But now that they have been leased up, we are now sort of in the maintenance phase with annual recertifications and inspections. And we are going to transition these vouchers from CGI, the current central partner, to our network of local administrators who we use in the regular Housing Choice Voucher program. However, CGI had some additional costs within their current contract, so I'm asking for authorization to increase the cap of their contract a little bit to close that contract out, and then these vouchers will be transitioned to our local administrators.
Thank you, Daniel.
Now before the HTFC board, a resolution is transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Thank you. Okay, the next 6 items are for our audit committees. The first of those is the HCR Internal Audit Charter, and the presentations will be by Will, Hanim, and Heidi. Good morning.
So we're now turning to our audit committee agendas, our agenda for the various audit committee meetings. The first item is a revision to the internal audit charter for HCR. The internal audit charter is a document that establishes the mandate, authority, and responsibilities of the internal audit units. This document should help directors, officers, and other staff members understand the role of our internal auditors. Each audit committee is required by its respective audit committee charter to review and approve the internal audit function of its agency, including its purpose and authority. This revised charter replaces 2 existing internal audit charters to better ensure consistency across teams and make certain updates to reflect changes to applicable professional standards, among other matters. We are joined here by our 2 chief audit executives. As you may know, we have 2 separate teams covering different portfolios within the larger HCR umbrella. Hanim Babieva leads our internal audit team for HFA, AHC, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC, and our internal audit team for HTFC, as well as the Division of Housing and Community Renewal, DHCR, is led by Heidi Nark, Director of Internal Audit and Quality Control. So both Hanim and Heidi are here. To answer any questions about the internal audit charter, and then we'll go into the next audit committee items.
Thank you. When was the last time the charter was revised?
So we had two existing charters, and I believe, y'all correct me, most recently 2022 and 2023 were the most recent revisions, respectively.
2023 for DHCR and HTFC, Office of Internal Audit, yes.
And 21 for,
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so this is before the, this item is before the audit committee for HFA, AHC, HTFC, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC. Resolution transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion second is recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Thank you. Okay, next item, 2024-2025 revised internal audit plan, and Heidi Nark will present.
All right. So annually, each year, we present an audit plan for discussion, review, and approval. And for 2024-2025, last year in March, I did bring forth that particular annual audit plan. It is subject to periodic update, and just since we're now at the conclusion of that year, I did want to update it to reflect the actual work that was conducted as it related to HTFC. The only variance is we did not get to the IDA audit that we had proposed for last year for multiple reasons, both on our side as well as program, just not making sense given the status of the overall program. And, due to hiring, staffing, training, other administrative purposes. So that was moved on over to the next audit plan. But I guess just to wrap up the revised 2024-2025, I'm not sure if anybody has any questions on that revision. I'm happy to answer anything on that item, if anybody has anything, before we jump into the 2025-2026.
Yeah. Any questions?
Okay, this is before the HTFC Audit Committee, a resolution transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Resolution adopted.
Okay, thanks. Now Heidi, you'll speak about the 2025-2026 internal audit plan.
Yep, so presented today is the draft audit plan for 2025-2026. And this particular audit plan outlines two proposed audits for HTFC, one looking at travel, and then the other one later on in the year, depending on the overall status of the programming, as well as what occurs staffing-wise throughout the year. We did carry over that proposed community development block grant disaster recovery audit for IDA. This audit plan is also subject to any potential DHCR commissioner or HTFC board audit requests. It also allots time for audit planning that we want to conduct throughout the year, as well as any follow-up that we will conduct looking at prior audit recommendations and looking at the status of those recommendations, just to look at the management response and what corrective action plan occurred on those prior audits.
Thanks, Heidi.
I'm happy to answer any questions. The audit plan does also note staff resources that we currently have, 2 HTFC staff, as well as 3 other staff within our office. We also just take this as an opportunity to report our organizational independence within the agency, our direct reporting structure to the board from a functional perspective, and then administratively through the commissioner.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now before the HTFC Audit Committee, a resolution transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye. Motion is carried. The resolution adopted.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is the 2025 internal audit plan for HFA, AHC, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC. And Hanim Babieva, Vice President, Internal Audit, will present the item.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So, so this is an annual exercise. We are bringing our internal audit plan for 2025 for your review and approval. This year plan includes several operational audits, finance audit, and also audit of third-party servicer bank that serves our mortgages for SONYMA. And we also cover technological aspect of the agency. Specifically for this year, we are targeting cybersecurity element of the agency. We are planning to perform payroll audit, asset management audit, procurement audit. We perform risk assessment in the beginning of the year to determine the risky areas, as well as we assist external auditors when they audit or examine any part of our agency. We act as liaisons. And as part of our routine, we also perform the follow-up audits of the previous year. So these 7 targeted audits are reflected in the plan, and I'm asking for your approval. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer.
Thank you, Hanim.
This item is for the Audit Committee for HFA, AHC, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC, the audit committees respectively for each of those agencies. Resolutions transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Resolution adopted.
Okay, thank you. Next audit committee item, the AHC compliance review report. Hanim, you're up again.
So as part of our previous year audit plan, we selected Affordable Housing Corporation as part of our compliance review. So as you know, this is a nonprofit subsidiary of New York State Housing Finance Agency, dedicated providing affordable housing solutions to low and moderate income families. So AHC issues like annual notice of funding availability. And for last several years, 22, 23, and 24, it was respectively 26 millions, 36 millions, and $40.5 million. So it's not only issuing the funds, but also in charge of monitoring of implementation of the affordable housing projects. And we decided to go over all of these operations to cover their controls from the moment when they review the projects for eligibility till the close of the projects. So we looked at their operational procedures, we looked at their compliance with legislation, we looked at their internal controls, risk assessments, and how they make decisions, who participate in approvals. So all of this were analyzed and reviewed. From the selection we made, it's about 15 projects we looked, including active and closed projects. We determined that their controls were on an adequate level, their procedures were followed, and they were in compliance with the applicable legislation. We suggested two supplementary recommendations to the affordable housing operations, which one is accounting controls, it's enhancement of the accounting controls, and the second one is outreach to targeted groups, specifically disabled veterans, and reporting over the inclusion of that group into their projects. So this, both recommendations were discussed with management and accepted.
Great, thank you, Annie.
Great, thank you.
This is before the AHC Audit Committee, resolution transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Resolution adopted.
Okay.
And then we're gonna postpone item 20 to the next Audit Committee meetings.
Okay, perfect. All right, next two items are consent items, and there will be no presentation or discussion unless requested.
So these items.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Oh, I got a question though. On a governance committee, in the bylaws, on the bottom of one of the pages, there's a paragraph that was added giving the audit committee approval of only 3 individuals of any contract to enter into any contracts above $100,000. When was that added?
So I'm not familiar with the particular language. We can.
That's something in the board book, or you're referencing something?
In our existing bylaws.
That's the existing
in the bylaws
themselves. Yeah. Because it's a part of the attachment under F, but it's just thrown in there by itself.
Yeah, we can. I mean, I'm happy to discuss it with you, and we'll go over it. I don't have the answer right now, but we can go over it after.
Okay. Yeah, because
the governance committees generally have certain authority to approve certain contracts that's been delegated by the board, and then the board reviews the governance committee's actions on a certain basis. That's a very high level, understanding of the setup.
Right, but that paragraph itself, once you read it,
yeah,
you'll see that it gives the committee full autonomy and discretion to vote on whatever they want to, circumventing the board.
Well, any authority the committee has been delegated by the board in the board's bylaws, but we can talk about the specific sort of language and walk through it. Yeah.
Okay.
Do the committees have the authority to bind the board, or board can't be bound without a board vote, can it?
Well, if certain authority has been delegated by the board to a committee action, and the committee can just approve it subject to whatever, further review the board has reserved for itself. So I believe, for example, and Lisa can also, for example, we have certain contracts that the governance committee reviews over the course of the year, and then the board will do a review of the governance committee's actions on an annual basis. That's one of our typical.
We usually take, a majority of our contracts usually go to the governance committee. We only take them to the board if they're a higher profile contract, or they fall within, governance committee doesn't meet every month. It meets 5 times a year, so it'll go to the board if we need needed to go, we can't wait for governance, but they all get approved as part of the annual procurement report to meet the requirements in the Public Authorities Law.
And they all get voted on here in this same, right? Since we do the committee and the board in the same place, they're all, it's not like there's a separate governance committee meeting that's happening some other time other than right now, right?
See, in the writing of it itself, it gives the committee the ability to enter into contracts above 100,000 without board approval.
Well, I
That's
think
the way
what
it's
Will was
written.
saying is the board gives the, and it's, again, they're getting voted on right here, right? So it's just having the governance committee vote here on those contracts based on the dollar threshold. Sorry about that.
That's authority that's been delegated by the board in the bylaws to exercise, yeah.
Right, but we don't actually see the contracts. See, that's the thing. It was, my understanding was anything below 100,000, the committee would have autonomy to vote on because it's a low dollar value for that particular contract.
Now, I believe that, I mean, if a contract is below 100,000, it doesn't come to the board. That's
Right.
the threshold. There's a threshold below which procurement is not deemed material for board review. But then above that threshold, the board has authority, but then the board may delegate that authority to a committee of the board, which is what that's.
It's still in the board materials, right? The materials are all, they're like, we don't have separate audit committee. The audit committee is right now, and it's the same materials that you would get for the board. You would see it, whether or not you're.
Right, I completely understand.
Oh, okay.
But the board doesn't get to vote on it. That's what I'm saying.
Right, the board is given the governance or the audit committee authority to vote on it.
Right.
Right.
That's the problem.
That's your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it gives them autonomy to vote and enter in a contract above $100,000, circumventing the board. So if it's a
Well, it's
contract
not circumventing board, right? The audit committee members are part of the board.
And it's done right in front of the board.
Yeah, and it's done in the same meeting with the same people, right?
Yeah, but only 3 people get to vote on it. You see what I'm saying?
I think the whole purpose, I remember when they kind of created this governance committee, is that we wanted the agency, too much time was being taken on contracts and not enough was being taken on the financing. And they wanted to give more time so that, and there's more money involved in all of the financings. And so they delegated the contracts to the governance committee, except for those, big ticketed types of contracts, they will come to the board.
Right.
Like a big IT contract or something like
Okay,
that.
so here's what we're gonna do.
Understand, but
Here's
that's
what I'd
not
like
the
to
way
do.
it's written. That's why we need to talk later.
Yeah, so, let's look at the authority that the governance committee has to approve contracts. For purposes of the 2 consent items, have nothing to do with this. The 2 consent items are regarding swap advisor contracts and specific facility contracts. So I'd like to move on with those items. We can revisit the issue of the authority of the governance committee separately.
This item is before both items 21 and 22 we'll consider together before the governance committee for HFA and the governance committee for SONYMA. Resolutions transmitted in connection with these items, assuming the motion is second previously reported. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Okay, so now we have a number of action items for HFA and SONYMA, starting with item 23, Pine Camp Apartments, City of Watertown, Jefferson County, and Russell Hubley, Vice President, Multifamily, and Terrence Sang, Assistant Vice President, will present.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
This thing on? Check 1, 2. All right. We're doing Pine Camp first, right?
Yes.
Okay. Pine Camp Apartments. I am pleased to introduce a project in an area that HFA 4% side doesn't see as often as others. This is up in the city of Watertown in Jefferson County. It's to be called Pine Camp Apartments. Pine Camp was the original name of what is now the Fort Drum military base, originally established in 1908. The name and location of the project relates to the history of Fort Drum being the primary economic and employment engine of the area. It also relates to the provision of supportive housing units that'll be provided with this project, particularly for formerly homeless veterans. Those 30 units of the 120 total will be serviced by Eagle Star Housing, who specializes in supportive programs for veterans. Another 40 units will be supportive housing units for those with serious serious mental illness and frail seniors to be serviced by DePaul Community Services. And then another 10 supportive units will be single room occupancy units for persons with mental illness, also to be supported through DePaul's programs. DePaul is a nonprofit. They specialize in these programs. They're also the developer and the owner of the project. The agency has had a long-standing and productive relationship with DePaul, financing and developing over 380 units together upstate, primarily for support of low-income seniors and families over the past 7 years. This project also involves another longstanding partner of the agency. That's the New York State Office of Mental Health, or OMH. OMH is providing supportive service ESHI awards, a development grant of about $274,000. And as part of its capital program, will be providing a grant during construction of approximately $3.5 million. The agency will also provide a permanent loan in the amount also of $3.5 million that OMH will be paying full debt service on. The New York State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, or OTDA, will be providing funding through its Homeless Housing and Assistance Program, or HHAP program, of $14.5 million. The Development Authority of North Country will also be providing Home American Rescue Plan funding of about $337,000. And along with the operating and rental subsidies that are provided through the ESHI awards, a pilot with the City of Watertown, and financing from the sponsor, DePaul, the project is poised for a very stable financial positioning for years to come. The 40 units in the project that are not supportive will be available for low-income families, expected to draw from the working population in the area within the orbit of the Fort Drum military base. As for the building itself, it'll be a 4-story L-shaped structure with 2 elevators, 90 on-site parking spaces for residents and staff. The site will feature an exterior courtyard and green space. Amenities and services will include the property managers and supportive service offices, mailroom, a leasing office, a central lobby with a large community room and kitchen, resident lounges with computer access, laundry rooms available on each floor. Each residential unit will be accommodated for handicapped visitability. Management security will be present on site 24/7. The tenant rent, primarily funded through the Supportive Services Awards, will include the cost of all utilities, trash removal, free Wi-Fi, and use of the laundry facilities. The building will be designed to meet the agency's design requirements for all new construction and comply with the Energy Star multifamily new construction ERI path certification. Pine Camp will also be set back from the main corridor where it's located, but it'll be very near to retail, commercial, and medical services within the city of Watertown. Watertown is a population of about 29,000. It's the largest metropolitan area in the Jefferson County region. And like most cities in New York, there is a continual need for affordable housing. The market study provided most certainly demonstrates such a need. The project meets with the agency's goals of addressing specific local housing needs and preventing homelessness and supporting vulnerable populations. It is also fully expected to meet HFA's required goals for minority, women, and senior disabled veteran-owned businesses participation based on the state's established percentage requirements for Jefferson County. Thank you.
Thanks, Russell.
I just have one general comment on the project. Obviously, this one's all electric, I saw, and some of that, we had the project, I forget what it was, where we had to pay for the grid upgrade.
That was DePaul.
Yeah. Anyways, there was the PSC just passed, I think in February, the battery storage program and implementation road plan. Part of it's for residential. I think in purposes of thinking about balancing the grid, lowering the cost of the infrastructure, and where people may be coming back to us in the future for the exact same thing, it would be worth exploring with the PSC opportunities to incorporate battery storage into some of this so that you can actually think about supporting, obviously, the grid and the state's goals on a lot of these things, but also thinking about perhaps adding economics or changing the economics of the projects that we're especially as we're doing all electric in places where it may require more grid power and substations and stuff that we're going to have to build. If we can incorporate storage options, it would be in line with a lot of the PSC's goals of the plan that they just passed in February.
I'm sure I totally understand all that, but are you saying that we should try to incorporate battery storage into these, but paid for potentially by PSC, like grant?
Potentially paying with PSC or supporting part of their implementation plan so that we could reduce the need, it could store. So at our peak energy on the high, on the things like this, it could actually draw, it would potentially eliminate the need for.
Are they thinking of it as a residential application?
Yes,
like
they've divided into commercial, residential. There's a couple verticals, and one of those is residentials. And given the large power usage, like our buildings are probably some of the larger structures in some of these communities, that may be a good opportunity to align our goals with the PSC's goals.
Yeah, we'll talk, Samantha, as you know, is
Yeah, absolutely.
our main person who understands all of the things you're saying. So we'll run that down and see if we can work. We have a good relationship with the PSC.
Yeah, it just passed in February, the implementation plan where they're focused on this stuff. So it's a good opportunity to sort of get in front of that.
So this is actually fried cities fed by candidates who,
It would reduce the dependence potentially on Canadian power in some respects too. It would allow us to leverage a lot of the investments in renewables and other things to be able to bring some of that storage online.
Great, thanks. Anything else?
The developer, DePaul Properties, is not a NWBE. They're a not-for-profit.
They're a not-for-profit supportive services developer. They're not a certified MWBE.
But they receive tax credits under the qualified allocation plan.
Yeah, they form a tax credit partnership and will receive the tax credits through the bond financing.
As long as they have a person of color that's working with the team.
No, it's not related to the tax credit allocation. The sources that we provide to the project, the permanent sources, are subject to the MWE requirements. So they're subcontractors. They'll have to find subcontractors that meet all the required goals based on the percentages established for each county. So for Jefferson County, 10% of the total amount of money that we're giving them has to go towards minority-owned businesses, 10% to women-owned businesses, and 6% to the service-disabled veterans businesses.
And if they say that they can't find someone?
If they have to make every good effort to achieve that. If they can't, then they can submit a good efforts demonstration showing that they tried. At this stage, they're projected to meet the goals. They've already established a utilization plan that shows that they're meeting the goals. So we're pretty confident that they'll be okay.
And how is that recorded?
There's a utilization plan that they have to fill out that gets reviewed by our DECO team, and then that gets executed at closing. It becomes one of our legal closing documents. So, and then they have to do the quarterly reporting during construction to make sure that they're adhering to those requirements.
Thank you.
This is before the HFA Finance and Program Committee and the HFA Board. Resolutions transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously reported. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted. Oh, and I will note for the record that the chairman is also recused from this item.
Next item, St. Elizabeth Manor, City of New York, Richmond County, and Russell Hubley will present again. Thanks.
Thank you. From Jefferson County down to Richmond County. The Sisters of Charity Housing Development Corporation is another nonprofit organization. They were established 39 years ago. They specialize in providing and operating affordable and supportive housing for seniors and families in the New York City area as well as Rockland County. They operate over 700 units in 12 separate properties, including 7 on Staten Island. The properties have largely been well maintained and financially solvent over the years through the use of a variety of financing strategies, HUD programs, and tax exemptions through the city HPD. The agency has participated in the financing of the rehabilitation of a couple of these projects, including Vincent's Village up in Rockland County and St. Joseph House on Staten Island. That one, exactly 1 year ago, was presented to the board for financing through our senior loan subsidy and program and weatherization energy efficiency program, and is currently under rehabilitation, and so far so good, is going well. Today I present St. Elizabeth Manor, also on Staten Island. Similar to Joseph House that we financed last year, St. Elizabeth Manor was created as a HUD 202 senior development back in the 1980s. Over time and wear and tear, it is in need of rehabilitation. This also presents an opportunity for us to come in with some robust energy efficiency upgrades. It's located about midway down Staten Island in what is called Staten Island's Green Belt. It's a cluster of parks and nature preserves with woodland trails. St. Elizabeth Manor is also well accessible for its senior population, which is 79 units, along with a 2-bedroom supers unit with direct access to the MTA West New Brighton bus route, which stops right at the project. It's also near to healthcare facilities, shopping, and retail. The total rehabilitation for the project is expected to address a comprehensive scope of work based on an integrated physical needs assessment, IP&A, that we require on all rehabilitation properties. It will include upgrades, repairs, replacement, and improvements to the building's exteriors, interiors, and systems. Improvements to the units will vary depending on the need, but they are expected to include updated kitchens, bathrooms, installation of Energy Star appliances, low-flow plumbing fixtures, replacing all lighting with LED light fixtures. The exterior work will include masonry and facade work, replacement of the roof and windows. Building interior work will include new boilers, elevator repairs, and public hall finish refurbishments. Specifically, with regards to energy efficiency, the project will be going all electric with replacement of its heat pump system, HVAC, and domestic hot water, as well as the necessary upgrades to the electrical system in order to accommodate the increase in usage. Energy efficiency measures will also be implemented with regards to the plumbing system and the window sealing. To help fund these upgrades, the project will be receiving about $2.6 million in NYSERDA Empire Building Challenge Award funding. This is also the same development team that successfully closed the Joseph House project last year, so there's demonstrated experience here with this scope of work. In addition to the HFA subsidy loan, St. Elizabeth will also be leveraging a first mortgage loan through Freddie Mac. The typical tenant at the project earns at or below 30% AMI. That equates to about $34,000 a year for a single person. As I mentioned, the project is owned by Sisters of Charity Housing Development Corp. They provide services to the residences, including financial security planning, social connections, counseling assistance, connection to long-term community-based supportive services. Some of the amenities in the building include a garden with seating, laundry facilities, a social services office, and 28 on-site parking spaces for residents and visitors. The project is fully expected to meet HFA's required goals for minority, women-owned, and SDVOB participation based on the state's established percentage requirements for New York City, a bit higher than their requirements are for Jefferson County. So that's 22% for minority-owned businesses, 10% for women-owned businesses, and 6% for senior disabled veteran businesses. Lastly, the project will continue to benefit from a pilot with the city HPD. Project-based Section 8 contract covers all 79 units. That will be extended for another 20 years. And HFA will be providing a 40-year regulatory agreement with our subsidy that will preserve affordability for another 40 years on the project. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Russell, do you know if the project will have any union labor or prevailing wage?
No, the existing HAP contract in place does not trigger prevailing wages. If there were new PVBs coming into the project, that may do so, but not within the existing HAP contract.
This is before the HFA board. Resolution transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Resolution adopted.
Thank you. Thanks, Russell.
Great, thank you.
Next item is Eberling Homes, Town of Clarkson, Rockland County, and Thomas Abbott, Director of Home Ownership Development Initiatives, will present this item and the next two. Good morning, Thomas.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Great. So the first project I'm here to present is Eberling Homes. This is a request for $1.4 million in a HOP subsidy to support the construction of 7 single-family homes in the town of New City in Rockland County. Our borrower here is Rockland Housing Action Coalition. They're a longstanding nonprofit in the area. They do a lot of sort of preservation work and some new construction. Participating lender here is CPC. The homes will be built on a sort of a wooded site located at 36 New Hempstead Road. It's a fairly suburban typology in the area, but there actually is, some real proximity to both sort of like a grocery store and a sort of a town center, and then also a decent number of job centers. There's some Rockland County municipal offices that are located right there, some Town of New City municipal offices as well, and schools close by as well. It'll be developed in sort of a cul-de-sac. You can see there's a bit of a site plan in the memo. 7 homes and a portion of the site which the county is helping the developer purchase which is not suitable for development because of the grade and a variety of other factors, is getting donated back to Rockland County as green space. Hard costs for the homes themselves are well within AHOP averages. We do have a decent number of additional costs here associated with the infrastructure work, so the road, the hardscapes, utility connections, things like that. All 3 bedrooms, roughly 1,500 square feet, and being designed really carefully to try to minimize runoff and deal with a couple of other environmental factors. And they'll be sold at 80% of AMI to home buyers making up to 100% of AMI. I will leave it there, but happy to answer any further questions.
Great, thank you.
Just real quick, I know that obviously Dina and the program that they're doing on the cross mod has seemed to be pretty interesting and successful with regard to thinking about potential cost savings when it comes to new single family units. Is that something that maybe not for this project, but obviously on these types of projects going forward would be an interesting sort of way to think about incorporating that type of home, especially given the work that went in to establish the relationship with that manufacturer?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to get cited in May. Did you know what? I think they're getting cited next month, those homes.
Yeah.
And that's really like a pilot for us of can we do these first 3 land bank placements and then can we do 100 more behind them, to your point. So yeah, that pilot obviously is with land bank, so it's a slightly different target for that. But I think the application of the cost of the house, and we'll see all in when it gets placed and everything where it ends up. But our thought is that would be all in about half of what this is. So that's our goal for sure.
Yeah, and then certainly leveraging the relationship and the pipeline we're generating for the manufacturer and those things to apply other places in the agency would be great.
100%.
Modulars need pipeline factory going, so.
And the hope is we wouldn't have to subsidize those to the tune of $200,000.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Right.
Excellent.
It's probably a tough site for that.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that the acquisition cost is about $1.5 million.
Yes. They're taking down the land before we're closing on our transaction, so it's not, we didn't end up including it in the development budget, but that's fully covered by ARPA money from Rockland County. Basically, they said, we want you to buy this land, we're willing to put up the money, what can you do with it? I think was sort of the start of the conversation
So it's owned
here.
by Rockland County.
It's not owned by it's owned by a private party, but Rockland County sort of was involved in the negotiation with the developer on the front end before they even came to us, and they said, hey, we want you to buy this site. It's well located. We think it's good for affordable housing development. And then they came to us after that.
Great, thank you.
Note that Ms. McEwen has recused herself from this vote. Now before the HFA board, a resolution is transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Great. This next one, a bit more complex. I'll tell a very abbreviated version of the story.
Read the Times article.
Yeah, exactly. You can read the New York Times article about this one. So this 345 Ovington, this was the basic backstory is a developer built this building that he intimated to members of the Chinese American community with whom he was connected that he was going to sell the homes as condos. He never filed a proper offering plan or actually indeed did any of that stuff. He then absconded with the savings of 20 immigrant families. Additionally, the building was foreclosed upon. They weren't paying their debt. And so the tenants came to the AG's office, who brought in the agency, and we brought in our nonprofit partner here, which is Asian Americans for Equality. And the plan is AFI has acquired the building as of last year, and we're now approaching a construction closing to take out that acquisition financing, do the moderate rehabilitation that has to happen at the property, really pretty minor work, and then convert it to a cooperative so that those folks can become homeowners as they originally intended. So it's a request for $5 million in AHOP subsidy. We're issuing that in partnership with LISC. And let's see, what else would we're working alongside HPD here as well, right? The property will receive an Article 11 tax exemption, and HPD is also putting in $3.75 million in PLP subsidy, and there's some pretty substantial contribution from local electeds as well. So 20 insiders, the 5 vacant units will be sold at 80% of AMI. And the insiders, all in housing cost burden are being served at 53% of AMI, which we think is a pretty good outcome. I will leave it there, but happy to answer further questions.
I would just suggest putting out a press release on this one to show that we're actually fixing a problem that was created. So.
Yeah. We had a ribbon cutting for the acquisition piece of it, but I think we should add that all in on doing another one.
Great, thank you.
Now before the HFA board are resolutions transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. The resolution is adopted.
Excellent.
Great, thank you. Thomas, next one.
This final one I'll present is Manu Linden Gardens. This is one of a number of projects that were awarded to nonprofit sponsors under the new Infill Homeownership Opportunity Program in 2019, I believe, by the city. These are small publicly owned sites that are being developed into new construction cooperatives. Our partner here is the Mutual Housing Association of New York and the Cypress Hills Local Development Corporation. Manny being sort of a citywide nonprofit, and Cypress Hills really focusing on this area, which is East New York. It's a request for $7.4 million in subsidy to create 37 units across those 12 sites alongside HPD's Open Door program. Long pre-development timeline here. These are pretty complicated due to the scattered site nature. It's just a lot of access agreements and a lot of environmental work. And our GC here is Foremost Contracting, and we're serving households making an average of 63% of AMI, which we think is a great outcome for AHOP. I will leave it there. Thanks.
Okay, this is before the HFA board. Resolution is transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas. We are now going to shift into some SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee only items. And Mike Friedman, I think you're going to come up and present the first one, which is mortgage insurance on a $4.5 million CPC mortgage for the Taft, which is in wait for it, in Syracuse. All right, Mike, let's go.
So this is an interesting loan because it will be sold not to the Common Retirement Fund, but to the United Methodist Pension Fund. And our legislation does not permit us to do business with a non-ERISA pension fund. And the Methodist Pension Fund is a non-ERISA pension fund because there's an exemption in ERISA legislation to exclude religious pension funds. So we're going to insure CPC. And we'll do so with 75 rather than 100% insurance. They will sell 100% participation in their loan to the Methodist Pension Fund. But we're not directly insuring the Methodists. It's the adaptive.
Is that the structure every time we do a Methodist deal? Where you insure? Yeah.
Yes.
Mike, just a quick, does that mean that the amount that we're insuring is 75% of the $4.5 million mortgage?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and it's good to see the Methodists back because they're 100 basis points cheaper than the Common Retirement Fund. The project involves the adaptive reuse of a former school building into 28 units, including 3 moderate income units. Syracuse's zoning law requires that 10% of the units be affordable at 80% of the AMI. The remaining 25 workforce housing units will be affordable at a projected 87% of the Syracuse AMI of $95,000. The project is being developed by Stephen Skinner, who has previously renovated 24 properties in Syracuse and surrounding area. The loan amount is $161,000 per unit, which equals 81% of the project's total development cost of $198,000 per unit. So this is an efficient project.
Great. Any questions for Mike?
This is somewhat of a new model for us, isn't it, in terms of the structure of this deal?
We
not subsidized.
Yes, but there is a a Syracuse zoning requirements for a 10% affordability requirement.
Just, at first blush, it looked to me like something that should be going to a bank,
Meaning like more conventional.
Yeah, feels that way anyway. So I only bring it up because look, as far as I'm concerned, any new housing is good housing.
Yeah. The units that are not required to be at 80% AMI are affordable at 87% of AMI.
But they're not restricted to that, though.
They are not restricted.
As the problem, and I just speak from my personal experience in Greenport, where, we also had experience revitalizing a small village. So in the case of Syracuse, it would be a neighborhood in a bigger city. But ultimately, what ends up happening is gentrification, and these units, although they may work for the workforce today, in 5 or 10 years, they're going to be out of sight like everything else. So I just,
It's historically been true, I think, also in the Bronx, where I think the Mortgage Insurance Committee did a lot of insuring of investment but for the insurance on the long-term debt, there wasn't a lot of investment, but it does have that similar sort of like workforce housing in neighborhoods that are affordable as opposed to income-tested apartments. So I agree.
What we experimented with, and I don't mean to hold the board up, but I just want to share this. What we experimented with in Greenport to deal with the question of affordability in an unregulated scenario like this was to put a residency restriction on occupancy. In the case of Greenport, these were actually units that were sold. They were condominium units that got sold at extremely favorable prices initially, and they could only be occupied in perpetuity by somebody living or working within the incorporated village, which means that their incomes would reflect the conditions of the immediate area. And I know that's a problem in the state because you don't restrict residency, but it just seems like maybe some creative thinking needs to go into how else you can manage projects like this in a way that puts downward pressure on rents without having to go into a formal regulatory agreement.
Yeah.
It's a very valid point, particularly given Micron and all the development that's coming. And we have seen that kind of change in a lot of neighborhoods across the state. It's kind of a conundrum. I will say with the Methodist Pension Fund, it is a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. So that helps keep pressure off of the refinancing.
Right.
And one of the things that drives rents up is when somebody needs to refi, they're looking to get as much capital out as possible. And so we've often looked at the 30-year fixed rate as a way to maintain pressure, take the pressure off of long-term affordability. But it's something that the city of Syracuse needs to think about very broadly as Micron comes in and the house that they're projecting 30,000 units over the next 10 years. Wow.
And I think part of that is reflected in their inclusion. They have this requirement, right, that 10% of the units be set aside, which is not unlike in New York City where we have inclusionary or 421A or these programs that require 10%, 20%. I think they're trying here to say long-term and every project
so
we want.
What you see happen is a lot of communities start at 10, and then as the market rates go up, they can go to 20. And the market rates go up, they can go to 30. Because it's very hard to do mixed income. These are 87%, the unrestricted ones. Right. So the market is essentially what's affordable here, maybe a tiny bit higher. But as that market goes up, then on newer developments, you start to try and capture more and more affordability.
Yes.
But it's hard when the market rents are not that high.
Right.
So, and CPC is often a voice at the table. What the cities will often reach out to us, and we're working with the city of Syracuse on a number of initiatives now around Micron to advocate for zoning that increases affordability or ways that we can even restrict the market ones so that they stay within 120 or 140, because that's where what you see happen is the market goes up, and now you have a missing middle.
Right.
They're very high rents and then these restricted rents, and you miss that middle piece. So we often work to try and help them with their zoning to incorporate that middle income band, those bands as well.
Thank you.
But it's a very good point.
Yeah, agreed. All right, Mike, should we take it to a vote?
Okay, this is before solely the Mortgage Insurance Committee for SONYMA resolution transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion second previously reported. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried, the resolution.
Great. So next up, same same structure, we have a proposal for mortgage insurance for 7375 Avenue C, apartments in Manhattan. This is a 2.8 million and change insured CPC NYSERS mortgage. Mike?
So this project comprises the substantial rehab of 16 units. All of the units are affordable at 70% AMI, and they will all receive 610 tenant-based vouchers through the private housing finance law. There's this 40-year Article 11 full real estate tax abatement. The project is being developed by Asian Americans for Equality, the same entity that developed the project in Queens. And they've been in business for 50 years, and they've done over 1,200 affordable rental units. The loan amount is $177,000 per unit, which equals 22% of the project's total development cost of $797 per unit. So this is a rather expensive project. And this will be the sixth loan we have insured for Asian Americans for Equality, with total liability of $27 million. Thank you.
Questions?
I have a concern, which really isn't our concern, but it's relative to HPD, which has to do with the idea of the 30-year regulatory agreement. I mean, right now we look at 30 years and we think it's a long time. Given where this project is located, however, I would guess that in 30 years, the value of the apartments will change substantially, the regulatory agreement will expire, and the tenants will have to be evicted.
Well, I think there's two things to think about it on the case of this one, and Mike jump in also. One, I think because it's a nonprofit organization, there is sort of the long-term affordable stewardness nature of it, so I think that helps. And two, Mike, I don't know if you know the subordinate debt amount on here, but sometimes let's see, this has
Well, there's $8 million.
an $8 million. So in order for it to also come out, it would have to pay back what is oftentimes a rather large,
right?
And they act as a balloon, right? They're not amortizing mortgages, HPD, so it will sit there as an enforcement mechanism at the end. So those two things together, I think, help the long-term nature of it. But
yeah,
it's a fair point.
It's a policy issue, which, given the length of my experience, disturbs me.
Yeah.
Because I remember when the Mitchell-Lama program did 30-year mortgages, and it seemed like a long time. But I also remember when those mortgages expired.
Yeah. Well, look, some of these organizations also see these as when they get to their regulatory term and they can sell the building, right, for $20 million. They say, well, I could go build 4 times as many units in a different location than this building is valued here. So I do think it creates pressure for them.
Well, a group like AFI, yes, but not every group.
The other thing I would say is that oftentimes there's physical needs well before the 30 years, and so then you need a resubordination.
Well,
and at that point, the
agency
says, "Oh, you want me to resubordinate? We'll extend it. You have to extend another 30 or 40 years." So
somebody asked me at one point why 30 years, and why that became the standard. And the only thing I could think of was, given my background, was that the members of the assembly were relatively young when this happened. 30 years seemed like a long time.
I think it's just coterminous with the mortgage, right? That the banks they want to see at the end of the 30 years that there's sort of a...
Right, but when I was working actually for the Common Retirement Fund, and we started doing long-term mortgages, and we were the only ones doing them at the time. And we would, I know you remember. We were doing them with you. But they were 30 years, and again, same kind of thing. If 30 years back then seemed like a long time. And
I mean, you have seen other municipalities. Westchester routinely goes 50 now, so there are lots of places that go longer, but I do think it's tied to the mortgage. And
and you're right, we do it, like when Mitchell-Lamas, you'll see them come before the board. Oftentimes when they're getting a capital loan, we keep adding 15 years to the back end. So that does happen here too.
Can you build in an agency option to extend?
It's probably a banking question. I mean, we do have deals that are, obviously there's many deals that have permanent that are a function of the inclusionary zoning. We do have some that are 50, especially in the cases of Mitchell-Lama, or even like HUD insured, does 40 year. So could we build in a extension? I don't know, it's a good legal question as to whether the sort of banks how they would perceive that. We could look at it.
that at least we would own the option, and that we could, you know, if they wanted to get out of it, you could sell them the option or something like that.
If that was in there, the lender would probably say, well, then you mature 6 months after I mature. Right, they would want it. I think it's a valid question, but if it's a fully amortized loan, I don't think the bank is gonna care. But when we were, subordinate debt, they always want that subordinate debt to be beyond our mortgage anyway, right? So any decisions about that are irrespective of me as the lender getting paid off. So.
It's probably an industry question too, right? Is can we pull enough people in the industry together to say we're going to change the paradigm on some of these to get to that?
Yeah.
Which is it's a good question.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? If not, let's go to a vote. Do you have a question?
This is before, again, these SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee only resolution transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, now we're going to move to item number 30, which is a mortgage insurance for Pine Camp Apartments, which might sound familiar because we just talked about it 35 minutes ago or so. This is a $3.5 million first mortgage seeking insurance from the mortgage insurance.
As Russell noted, this comprises construction of 120 all low-income units, including 80 supportive units for 40 adults with serious mental illness, 30 homeless veterans, and 10 frail seniors, plus 40 low-income units. The units are all affordable between 30 and 60% of the AMI. OMH will pay full debt service on the insured loan. There are 2 ESHI awards totaling $412,000 per annum in rent subsidy for the supportive units. There's a 30-year pilot agreement with the city of Watertown. DePaul Properties was founded in 1958 and is a very highly regarded provider, owner-operator of supportive housing. The loan amount is $29,000 per unit, which equals 6% of the project's total development cost of $485,000 per unit. So this is a very efficient project.
Thanks, Mike. Questions? Okey-dokes.
And I'll just note, correction for the record, this is also only before the Mortgage Insurance Committee as it's below the threshold. Resolution transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Great. Next up, we have approval for permanent mortgage insurance for La Centrale Phase 2 up in the Bronx. This is a $43,890,000 first mortgage seeking 50% mortgage insurance.
We earn premium on 100% of the loan amount.
Oh, sorry.
No, we're providing 50% insurance, but we earn a premium on 100%. Not a bad deal.
Yeah, good negotiating.
It's development of 420 units, including 63 supportive units, and all of the supportive units will receive New York 1515 rent subsidies. The project is being developed by the Hudson Companies, which has developed over 2,000 affordable units. BRP Development Company, a MWBE company, which has developed $285 million of supportive housing, including 4 previous HDC finance projects, and Common Ground, which is, a very large, highly regarded developer of supportive housing. The insured loan amount is $107,000 per unit, which equals 13% of the project's total development cost of $824,500 per unit. So this is an expensive project. Thank you.
Thanks. Any questions? What's that?
I said $1 million doesn't buy much anymore.
No, it's not.
Great. Okay, let's take it to vote.
Okay, this is before both the Mortgage Insurance Committee and the SONYMA Board. Resolution transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Great.
Thank you.
Oh, you're not to the next one, Mike? We've got Barcelo Lofts. or do you want to hold Barkalow Lofts?
Let's hold that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. No, so item 32, we will postpone. Okay. So that brings us to item 33. This is an amendment to a contract with Emphasis Computer Software, which is our SONYMA software, and Darrell Ford is going to come talk through this one.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jerome.
Hi. Good morning. We're before you to request approval for the amendment to an existing Emphasis contract. Emphasis is the provider of a loan origination and management system used by the single-family unit. This is an existing platform that has been around since 1984. The last significant upgrade was in 2000. This will allow us to be more efficient and ultimately be a cost savings for the agency.
Great. Questions for Darrell? Okey dokes.
All right. Thank you.
This item is before the full SONYMA board resolution transmitted in connection with the item. Assuming the motion second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. The resolution adopted.
Item number 34 is compensation adjustment that's going to be presented by Betsy, and I'm going to depart the room so you can all talk about me as you wish.
Bring a wheelbarrow when you come back.
Yeah, but Betsy will know
I'll know,
what we say.
but I can keep secrets. It is a public meeting that's being recorded also, just to be clear, but, so good morning. I think we're still morning. As you know, one of your obligations as the board is to set the compensation for the president and CEO. Recommendations are typically brought by the chairperson, but given that we are without a chairperson for SONYMA, and it wouldn't be appropriate for Ruth Ann to bring her own salary adjustment, you're stuck with me this morning. I'm here to recommend an adjustment that is consistent with the recommendations of the Commission on Legislative, Judicial, and Executive Compensation. For those who don't know, the Commission was established in 2015, tasked with making recommendations every 4 years with respect to the compensation for members of the legislature, judges and justices, statewide elected officials, and those state officers referred to in Section 169 of the law, which includes Ruth Ann's position. In reviewing the salaries, 3 issues were identified with the salaries of employees referenced in Section 169. One was that they were often paid less than employees that they supervised. The second was that the history of salary increases for unionized employees showed an increase of almost 14% from 2022 to 2026, while commissioner salaries had not risen in a commensurate manner. And then finally, that comparing state commissioners to City of New York commissioners showed that city commissioners generally receive significantly higher salaries. So particularly in agencies such as ours, based in part, in New York City, that obviously creates pressure for recruiting great talent such as Ruth Ann. So the commission made a recommendation. They made the recommendations based on 4 tiers of complexity of agencies. Ours was designated as a Tier A agency, and the recommended salary for commissioners of Tier A agencies is $245,000, effective January 1st of 2025. So we're a little late in bringing this to the board. So we're asking for a retroactive application of the approval, should you approve, and it has an annual. It will increase 2% in 2027. Are there additional questions?
What's her salary now?
Funny you should ask. I figured you might. $209,350, and then all downstate employees have a location adjustment as well. Yes.
I'm just curious. What are the other tiers and what are the other salaries for commissioners? Do we know?
I don't have it. I mean, I do, but I don't have it right here. I can grab it if,
Tier A is the highest.
yeah, Tier A is the highest.
Okay. Just want to make sure she's being fairly compensated.
Yes, I would-
Appreciate the question.
I think
That's
she
still below,
deserves it.
obviously,
Yes,
what the
it's-
city.
Well, yes, but there's,
yeah.
we can't raise it more than,
No.
No, I understand.
Certainly approve
Plus the
raising it to
17, you said 245, right?
Yeah, it's
17.028% raise.
I'm very impressed if you just did that in your head. But, well, I would argue she's been underpaid. It is a substantial increase, which I'm sure she will be grateful for should it be approved, but.
it's before taxes.
Right. And the retro will be subject to 50%.
And this is for 4 years? Or
The
is-
recommendations were made in, yeah, pardon me?
She'll receive an increase in 2007, right?
In 2027, sorry, I thought you meant was, these are set for 4 years,
That's
and then
what I
it's
mean,
reevaluated every 4 years, yeah.
Right.
But indeed,
Eligible in 3 or 2% increase.
she will be eligible in 2, yeah. So
Right.
in January 1st, 2025 is 245,000, and then January 1st, 2027 is 2% above
So
that.
there's a possibility for a step up.
Of 4%.
There's a guarantee of 2% increase in 2027.
Right.
I guess there's a possibility that it could be reevaluated, and the commission might set a different.
Just still below inflation.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially given predictions of inflation.
I would just like to go on record saying that I think this is an incredibly complicated agency, and the facility that Ruth Ann has with operationalizing everyone to not just get the work done, but to create efficiencies and to allocate capital and work seamlessly with the governor to advocate for more resources for housing is, in my opinion, exceptional. So I think she deserves every penny of $245,000 and probably a lot more, but if that's the best we can do, then I fully support it.
I appreciate that support. I see it every day and couldn't agree more.
Any other questions?
Sally.
Okay, this is an item, a resolution before the SONYMA board, as Ruth Ann is officiating before the SONYMA. All resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion is second previously reported, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Apologies, I'm not on that board. I made that comment.
Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Finance committee.
Okay,
Finance committee.
so can I do them all together? Okay, so for the next 4 items are for AHC. They are consent items, and no presentation or discussion will take place unless requested. Will?
The only, on the climate friendly homes fund, and I just think, given the sort of state of deployment.
James,
sorry.
1 second. We're just going to do the AHC.
We're just doing the 4 AHC items.
I
And we'll
thought
come to
that
the
was.
info items after that.
Oh, sorry, was that further down?
It's items 35 through 38.
38.
So we're just going to do a vote on these, and then we'll move.
Oh, never mind, that's 42. Sorry, I apologize.
Okay,
That was different
go ahead.
on items.
This is before the AHC board, our resolutions transmitted in connection with items 35, 36, 37, and 38. Assuming the motion is second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Okay, and then the next 12 items are information items, and there will be no presentation or discussion unless requested. And James, you've got something?
Yeah, just given the state of deployment on the climate friendly homes fund, I think it would be interesting to bring together folks like CPC who are administering it, other folks like community sustainability partners, people who have helped us to think about the criteria as part of the program to sort of maybe reevaluate it, just to understand what has been successful, not successful, and think about ways to perhaps, and I know there's been attention on that, but anyways, just that's one thing. And then similarly, I think on the next consent item.
Wait, can we do this
Oh,
one?
yeah,
Let's-
fine.
Becky will talk
Yeah.
about this, and then
Yeah,
we
go
can
ahead.
go to the next. Do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So I think the important thing to remember about Climate Friendly Homes Fund is like this is the first time someone has tried to do this. So for
Without a
folks who are not like living and breathing this, what we're trying to do is give buildings capital to electrify or get ready to electrify that is not in conjunction with another loan. We're trying to infuse capital when they're like in year 10 or 15 of their current mortgage to be able to give them an infusion of money. The idea being this would be faster because we don't have to go through an entire mortgage process. It's turned out that it is actually harder to do it that way, which is interesting. It has been interesting, and sort of at every step of the way, like we've been going back and forth with CPC and making adjustments. We're going to do one more adjustment to the term sheet. We've already made 2 sets of adjustments to the term sheet. We're making one more set of adjustments to help them out, and then also potentially taking some of that money back in-house to deploy to take some of the pressure off.
Okay, yeah, just obviously.
Yeah, we've met several times. The state has been great too. What I said to the team initially is we have a box. Pretty soon it'll be a pentagon, then it'll be a hexagon.
Now it's an amoeba.
Yeah, now it's a dodecahedron. But we recognized that this had never been done before, and so we were going to learn as we went. We were also dealing with small properties, so it's actually kind of beautiful when you saw it. Like there'd be 8 units in Troy and 12 units in Carroll Gardens and 16 units in Syracuse. I mean, it was really what we thought, but to try and scale at that pace is very difficult.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
So the state's been a great partner in making adjustments, and I think there's a lot of projects in the state's pipeline that can benefit from this capital as well as we continue to try to electrify. And we can learn from some of those larger projects. And so we have a big pipeline, but it's very hard to pull deals through the pipeline because when it's not with a mortgage, you're dealing with an owner of a property that's busy doing lots of other things, especially if they're a developer. And this is just at the bottom of their to-do list.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. Just obviously, okay, that's great. I didn't know that was that's great. Okay, perfect.
We've also, I will just also say that working with Samantha in particular, we've been very diligent about making sure we do this correctly.
Yeah.
So the last thing we want to do is install the heat pumps incorrectly and have somebody have their utility payments go up or not be able to use the heat pumps. It's new technology. So that diligence has been really important, but also doesn't lend itself to scale.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm sorry, James, you then want to
No,
talk about
yeah, and then,
42
no,
also?
but I guess it's on the same thing, because I think the next item was on the, like, for example, the clean energy initiative. Like, I know, like, for example, the Rip Van Winkle project was listed on that, where there's allegedly greenhouse gas reduction money coming in. It may be interesting to think about how the CPC, that this money, if you're going to bring it back in-house, could be a substitute for pipeline that's been generated as part of what was going to be greenhouse gas reduction fund, to think about ways to deploy that in as a substitute model. And let's, obviously CPC's been thinking about this a lot of waking hours and probably nighttime hours as well, but ways to think about just creatively deploying that. So that's it.
Okay, anything else on any of the other information items? Otherwise, we'll take a vote on all of them. Or there's no vote, just no vote.
We'll take no vote.
All right, before we conclude the meeting, just a couple of thoughts that I'd like to share.
Skipping over number 39.
39 is an information item.
Right, we don't, I confirm we don't have a presence, a separate presentation, but if there are any questions, we have Tamika here who can answer any questions you have about the items.
We ask for one for every meeting.
Right, so we.
It's in the report. I mean, it's in the written materials.
She's here to answer any questions if you have any particular. So
I got a couple questions.
Do you have?
Would you like her to come up? She can come up. Yeah. Sure. Tamika, you want to come up?
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, thanks. In a report, something came up about what are emerging MBE and MWE developers, and what is exactly the determination that gives that company that determination, that designation?
It is not an official determination, but we really use that to scale the size of operation or how many units they are able to manage.
Of how much they're able to manage?
How many units they're building at a time within their portfolio.
Okay. Because I saw in a report you had like 4 individuals that you had brought up who are emerging
Yes.
developers to award ceremony?
Yes, so we were at the Rochester, the Upstate MWBE conference, hosted by the city of Rochester. And so they identified a number of MBE, WBE developers and builders, GCs, prime builders, who are working across Western New York, Central New York, the Finger Lakes, and the Southern Tier, who would be interested in participating in the event. So we sponsored their attendance to the awards dinner, and we had our upstate development director there so that they can share their initiatives. There isn't a specific organization that represents these owners and builders, so we reached out to the city of Rochester to help us identify these firms.
And there were 6, right? There's 4 MBEs, 1 WE, and 1 GC. Is that the folks that you hosted?
Correct.
We were talking about outreach over a number of meetings. So this is just for roughly 6 potential developers to be done. What about actual developers have you reached out to, or other organizations across the state?
Oh, absolutely.
What have you done in that regard?
Absolutely. We also met with the Upstate Black Chamber of Commerce, and we attended their real estate mixer to mingle with developers and owners looking for capital resources. That was in Albany. They're based in Albany, but they service the entire upstate area. And some of our development partners were already there, like Arbor Hill Development. And also CPC was there to present some of our programs available as well.
And that organization encompasses how many counties?
Say it again?
That encompasses how many counties?
They're doing the entire upstate down to Westchester.
The entire upstate down to Rochester?
Down to Westchester, yep.
Another thing that I just want to point out, CPC has a program to help empower brown and black developers and provide them with the resources that they don't otherwise have. And we do a whole incubator program where we're educating brown and black developers about how to develop. It's for smaller developers that want to get into the business. HCR has been a great partner to us in that. We do a series of between 6 and 8 sessions virtually. We've had 6 cohorts now. And the state is always present to talk at one of our classes about all of the resources available to them. When they come through that process, we then try to get them to take that next step and go to EDC and get certified as an MWBE if they're able to, if they have a company that qualifies and is large enough. And the state has focused a number of their programs specifically on trying to draw in contractors that come through this program. It's very hard to start out if you don't know the basics, and so we're giving them the basics. We then just developed a 2.0, so that's our incubator 1.0. We have a 2.0 where we're taking developers that have projects and giving them a higher level of education about actually how to get through that process. One of the things that develops out of all of that is that they create a community among themselves in the cohort. It's usually between 40 and 50 developers in each one of our cohorts. And so it's been really, really helpful to all of those want to be developers. Some of them are brokers, some of them are contractors, some of them are just want to be developers. But the state has been an incredible partner in all of that, particularly in programs like Legacy Cities, where we're trying to create real opportunity for them to independently develop on their own, whereas before they might have just been a contractor for someone else. And so there is a lot of intentionality between CPC working in partner, and Enterprise does a lot of this as well. So the state has many other nonprofit partners. They're also very focused on this. And so I just wanted to raise it because I know there's a lot of discussion around it. It's hard because a lot of developers start small. We're trying to get them to start small and then grow and give them all of those tools that they need. Education is a big one. Huge advocates in advocating back to the state around how else to help them. Then really trying to innovate programs for them, whether that's Legacy Cities or other programs, and then do the investments. And so we're seeing our pipeline grow with minority developers who are coming through. and then trying to get them to the next project and the next project. It's a lot of work, and you have to be incredibly intentional, which we are, and which the state has been a great partner in helping us to be.
The state as far as ESD?
State as far as HCR. ESD, yes, we've reached out to them as well. We don't have as much of a working relationship with ESD as we do at CPC with HCR and HPD. But we are, and Ruth Ann came in when we were doing our advocacy. We have a group that we meet with regularly of minority and brown and black developers that bring forward their issues, and so then we bring in the stakeholders that can help support them. A number of things have come out of that. One of the things that's very difficult for brown and black developers is capacity for guarantees. So we were able to create a program with Goldman Sachs, where Goldman Sachs is putting up money as a guarantor for a developer to help them get to that next level. Oftentimes what you see is they can do one project at a time, but to really grow your business, you need to be able to do 2 at a time and then eventually 3 at a time. But you don't have the capacity to make the guarantees. And so that came out of one of our advocacy sessions. And so we were able to create that program. So we are very actively trying to address the deficits that the brown and black community experiences in trying to grow their development businesses. There are a lot of very successful ones also that are partners with us in helping to relay the lessons that they learned and how they came up into the industry. And so a lot of this came out of, it's about 5 years we've been doing this, came out of the Black Lives Matter movement. And it's just been a really important piece of not just our work, but the industry working together.
But see, that's the whole thing. I had a conversation with ESD. I had a conversation also with Suffolk Counties on board on MWBs, MVEs. I actually attended one of the classes where they did the application process, where we had like 30-something people in there. Some people being charged $5,000 to go through application, which is ridiculous.
Agreed.
Because you can do the application on your own, but we're also looking at places like Stony Brook Business Center and other business centers to be able to assist individuals in the application process. Through ESD, where you were talking about financing and stuff, we're finding that some individuals who are MVEs, MWBEs, when they actually go to do the contracts, they're asked to be put upfront cash, which kills them from being able to do anything higher than what they're already doing. Then also, even in this report, there's 58% participation in MWBE, MVEs across the agency. But that only represents 2% of the total business of the agency itself.
I'd love to introduce you to our access team. That's the name of our program, so that you can share with them what you see the challenges are, because that's part of the joint advocacy that we do to go then back to EDC. It's not an agency that we interface with all that often, but that's one of the jobs of this group, is to identify what all of those challenges and the barriers are so that we can figure out ways to help overcome them and advocate for that change. So I very much appreciate your voice on this, because I've seen the struggles in the work that we do every day. And so I'd love to be able to connect you, and maybe we can loop in HCR in that conversation as well. We often have conversations with HCR at the table when we're trying to identify some of these more systemic issues.
I'd also like to add a point of clarity there. The utilization rates that we have is for certified firms. At our funding level, we are not limiting our funding opportunities to certified MBEs. So you can be an uncertified MBE and participate in Legacy City.
But that's one of the things too in the whole certification process. Even where we see places like the COB, right? It's a not-for-profit. They're giving incentives to companies like that for being a not-for-profit. And that's what I brought up before. As long as you have a person of color, that's a part of your development team. So you get credit for that. So that circumvents you actually being a certified MBE, MWBE. And then even in a report of the, 21 companies that were in there, one of them definitely is not an MWBE, MBE. Absolutely is not, but they have the certification, because there is a person who is on the board that is a part of it, but she's not an owner. So these are some of the concerns that keep coming up that, you're saying we're reaching out, we're doing the outreach and everything else, but we're not seeing individuals come to the table to be able to do business. And that's the thing too, even in the outreach. The reason I asked, coming from the northern part down to Rochester, there's 62 counties. So in your team, how are you going to reach out to 62 counties?
So we've been able to, thankfully, add additional support in Buffalo. We have support in Albany and downstate where we can kind of divide the need. I don't think that you're going to see the effects right away because it takes time to prepare to be ready for the application process. And that is one of the things that they asked us in Rochester is to have a little more technical assistance and support, understanding how to apply to HCR and what are our different tiers of options there. So on our engagement, we include a flyer that includes different scaled sizes of programs. We have AHOP on there, Lexi City, as well as the 4% and 9%. So they can see that there are other options based on the size of their organization.
AXI was supposed to be a program that DECO is supposed to be able to utilize. Has that been funded?
So we do have the goal setting software. And we will be looking to put out a solicitation for compliance.
You do have the software.
For goal setting, yes. So it is available for our development partners to identify firms and do targeted outreach and communication with the firms and track their communication.
What was the cost?
That came out of the liquidated damages fund. And that was.
You could find out and shoot you an email.
Right,
I don't remember how much.
Because one of them was like $500,000 for the program.
Yeah, that was it was a discretionary
$2 million.
spend. It was a discretionary spend, so it was below the threshold, yes.
It was below that.
Below
threshold.
the 500,000
But
threshold.
you actually have the program and it's available to be used.
Yes.
Okay.
About 245,000 a year.
It was 245,000. So it was actually half of the actual cost that they were asking.
You're talking about two different things. There's a goal-setting software and there's a supplier diversity software system,
Right.
which is a comprehensive system. And we're in the queue with procurement to do that in the summer.
So it's not there yet.
It is not there yet.
Okay.
But we do have the goal-setting software.
Right.
Okay.
I'm gonna reach out to James, okay?
Okay. What about tracking for the MWBEs and MBEs? Because I know in speaking to Suffolk County, they have a form that everyone has to apply for. It's a AAP 20LL form. And that's for any individuals who are doing business as an MBE. If they do subcontract, then they have to do a separate form, a CONR 89LL form that they have to do. And everyone across the board has to comply with both of those. Do we have anything with that tracks this compliance or anything related to it?
Absolutely. Every project that comes to you guys for approval that has goals attached is assigned a compliance specialist, and they report their expenditures against their funding amount quarterly.
On a quarterly basis?
Yes.
But the report that we have won't match up to the ESD report because they're in two different fiscal cycles. So there's no way to actually check it for its accuracy.
It's a little difficult because there are like 3 different fiscal cycles happening at the same time, but we try to align the reports that you receive with the ESD cycle.
The RISE SAP, is that being funded through any SONYMA dollars?
Sorry, the what?
RISE SAP, is that being funded through any?
What is the RISE SAP?
No, I don't
The $11 million from the last meeting?
I don't think it's Sunny May.
It's not, no Sunny May funding?
Ted is on this yet at oral surgery, but I don't think it's Sunny May.
Okay. All right. And then through BAM, what's the total expenditure so far on that project?
She's asked through BAM, what's the total expenditures?
Yeah, what's the total amount that's been spent on that system upgrade?
It's included.
I'm happy to, what it was, I'm happy to get it. I don't know the number.
All right.
Obviously, if there's things that you want us to address in future meetings, you can always send in advance questions. I don't want to put people on the spot if they don't have the exact info you want, but we're happy to get it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Tamika.
Can I do a quick cat one
Yeah.
before you do? And I was just going to let the board know that Kathleen McCadden Benjamin here in the first row is moving on from the agency up into a new role, is still in state government, just going up the food chain. To be announced, she's sort of waiting for all her paperwork to get through, but I wanted to acknowledge and thank Kat for the 8 years, almost 9 years that she has been here with the agency. She's been incredible. Part of the agency, she's been an incredible member, certainly of my team. I'm sure you all see and feel it here at the board, and the very time she jumps in and jumps up. But she's been an incredible leader and asset, and while we are sad to see her go, we are very excited to watch her continue her role in public service and go on to do great things. She won't be too far. So thank you, Kat, for everything.
Very nice. Okay.
Can't vote a bonus.
So a couple quick things, and then we're going to have a motion to adjourn the meeting. So there are going to be a handful of schedule changes for the next few meetings that we're working out. We'll give everyone enough advance notice on all of that, and possibly adding an August meeting. I guess we'll have to see what the PACB schedule is.
Yep.
We're trying to plan a board education session for the first of the 2 June meetings. Again, we'll give plenty of notice on that, and also we'll have an agenda circulated for that. There are a handful of other items that I think I'll cover in an email to the board. But in closing, I just want to acknowledge there's a developer who this agency has done an awful lot of work with. In fact, he was a deputy commissioner like 25 years ago. His name was John Oster. John passed away this morning.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh.
I found out right at the beginning of the meeting. John was just an incredible guy and a personal close friend. So it's a sad loss for the development community, for this agency, and for me personally. And with that.
Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor of adjourning the meetings, please say aye.
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 Aye.